Jim Hill. I'm a part of our BI and analytics team here at JourneyTEAM. I'm excited to share some of the things that I love about Power BI and what are some of the new features. What I really like is that Power BI is constantly enhancing. New releases come out every month, and I'm going to highlight a few of those today. So let's start out. First of all, one of the cool new features is the ability to have multiple audiences. As you publish things out to the Power BI service, in the past, you had one workspace, and that workspace could be shared in one app. Well, now Microsoft has enhanced that capability. So when you go to the publish or to the update app, in the past, you just got to go to the setup menu. Now they've added two more features, content and audiences. Content allows you to use these little icons next to the names of the reports to make them visible or not visible. And then in addition, you can define which audiences have access to those particular reports or dashboards. And you can see you can add users or groups. Really gives you a lot of control over app, which is where typically companies will share their content with their users. All right, some other cool features. Power BI has added to the ribbon an optimize menu item. This allows you to pause visuals as you're developing them. Sometimes if you have a very complicated visual with lots of measures in it, it may take a few minutes to refresh. But now you have the ability to pause that visual while you're adding new things, so that you don't have to wait for refreshes. In addition, the performance analyzer capability has been moved over underneath this optimized menu. The next thing that I want to do is I want to demonstrate first of all, sorry, jumped ahead of myself. First of all, the slicers, which we all use to filter the elements on a page. In the past, you could choose the slicer type by going to the three ellipses next to the name. But you'll notice that menu has changed. Now you select the slicer, and underneath the visualization pane, now you have the ability to choose which type of a slicer this is. Things like vertical lists, drop downs, or a new one called tile, which kind of replaces the old chiclet slicer that you had to download. And we'll demonstrate that a little bit in just a minute. All right, so now I'd like to go to a demonstration of how one new key feature works. This is called field parameters. So in this demo, I'm going to use a data set that has some sales measures in it. And what we're going to do, you'll notice at the bottom right now, I've got two visuals that show sales amount. What I'm going to do is in the top under modeling, underneath new parameters, there's a new attribute called fields. These field parameters are things that can let you choose multiple different measures to use in your visuals. So I'm going to create a new one. I'm just going to call it field parameter. And then I go to my measure table and I can choose a handful of different measures. So I'm going to grab sales amount. I'm going to choose average sales. And then I'm also going to choose margin. Now with these three measures, I can create them, or I want to point out this little add slicer to the page will let you put that slicer on the page right away. So I'm going to leave that on, hit create. Takes a second. In the background now, it's creating a new table that has those different elements in it that I selected. And if you notice over on the right-hand side, underneath the data, there's a new thing called field parameters. And if I expand that, you can see there's a field parameter. If I click on that, you'll see the DAX code behind it. And those numbers at the end of each line indicate the order that they'll appear in your slicer. So you have a lot of control. All right, so now let me resize my slicer. You'll notice there's my new parameter values, and I can go into the slicer settings, and that's where I can choose to turn these over to a tile, like I like I described earlier. So let's make that into a slicer that's a tile. But now that slicer isn't affecting my visuals because they have the old parameters in them, the old measures. So in order to change that, I select one of my visuals. I come over to the list. I'm going to take the sales amount out, and I'm going to add the field parameter into my values. And now you'll notice the elements inside that visual changed. So let me change the other one as well. Let me take out sales amount, add my field parameter, and there you have it. So now if I click on my slicer, you can see the values change in the visuals. But the headers are still not right because they have the fixed values that we demonstrate or that were added originally. To change that, you go to the format visuals with the visual selected, go into the general, and there under title, you'll see an f of x button, a function button. If you click on that, now you can go and choose from your menu the field parameter. And then you can say, okay, and that applies a dynamic header now to your visual. So let's do it on the second visual as well. Go ahead and we'll change it also to use the field parameter. And now the title for that visual should change as well. And you'll notice if I select a different one, it automatically changes. So let's try one other thing. Let's add another visual to this page. So let's choose a tree map visual. So I click on the icon for tree map. Let me reposition it. Once that's in place and sized, let's add to this visual our field parameter. So we drop it in the values pane. And then we need to make it more interesting, let's add another attribute to this tree map. Let's go and add the sales territory. So now you can see here we have a dynamic visual that changes with the slicer. And in this case, the header changes dynamically. We don't have to go change it again. So that's how field parameters work. I hope you'll take advantage of them. They're very useful. Okay, just a few more highlights that I want from the things that have changed in Power BI. Composite models have changed. A composite model is when you can add tables from another data set. And in the past, you could connect to that other data set, but you could only use one of your tables to slice the composite model. But if you had more than one that you had added, you couldn't do that. That has been changed, and you can take advantage of connecting data or tables from other data sets that have been published to your Power BI service. There are several new DAX functions, and I don't have a lot of time to go into these, but let me highlight a few. Index, offset, and window. Index lets you create an ordered index that you can reference from other calculations. Offset is very similar. It lets you create an offset, and using values like partition by and order by, you can organize your data in a way that you can grab different elements relative to what you're selecting. And window is really cool because you can use window to do things like rolling averages. So if you wanted to look at a 3-month rolling average or a 6-month rolling average, window now makes it really easy for you to do that. Other new functions, evaluate and log, to CSV and to JSON. These are features that allow you to help debug the measures that you're creating using tables. And this is a really cool thing, but you need to use that in conjunction with other tools like SQL Server Profiler or DAX Debug Output that is from the SQL BI guys. So you can look online and find out more details about those. There's also a new feature that allows you to upload a Power BI file to a workspace. This is great because now you don't have to open up the Power BI file and then publish it. You can actually start from the service and pull a file up into your workspace. There's also some changes to creating subscriptions where you can include the changes that you've made in the subscription that you defined. And then finally, there are lots and lots of newly released visuals out there that you can take advantage of. There's way more than I can talk to, but go to App Source and you can see some of those newly released visuals. Well, I hope you'll take advantage of a few of these things. Appreciate the opportunity to share them with you.